I recently set out to ride the Idaho BDR with my friend Matthew. Although we didn't successfully complete the BDR, like a scientific experiment, much was learned from our failure. In this video, I'm going to tell you 5 things that I learned by riding part of the Idaho BDR. Some of these things might be obvious, and I was certainly aware of some of them before I even started, but the significance and importance of these factors were impressed on me by the events that unfolded during our ride. If you want to watch our whole Idaho BDR adventure, then check out this video. So stay tuned, because at least one of these things I didn't know at all before I started out. Probably the most obvious thing that everybody should know before they ride a BDR or even go motorcycle camping is that weight matters. As soon as you load your bike, you realize that riding a fully loaded bike is not the same as riding an unloaded bike. This shouldn't be news to anyone, but knowing it and feeling it are two different things. Moreover, on the road, managing weight is relatively simple. It only becomes an issue at low speed or in tricky maneuvers. But on a BDR, you're off the road almost all the time. That's the point. So every move is more challenging. The limiting factor is not the amount of stuff you can pile on the bike, it's how the weight is distributed and your ability to handle that weight. In preparation for the Idaho BDR, I watched the official BDR film. Those guys looked like they had a lot of stuff, more than I usually pack, and I've watched other videos of riders who seem to carry a lot of stuff. But then again, some riders seem to have so little that I wonder if they're actually camping as they go. My first mistake was choosing hard panniers, because their weight alone is about 25 pounds each. Compared to a giant loop mounting plate plus a round-the-world pannier bag, that's an extra 15 pounds per side. On my camping trip to the Gold River Roadbook Rally, the extra weight was insignificant. But for a BDR trip, it was a very significant addition. Using soft luggage could have saved me 30 pounds, which is more than half my backpacking gear for a week's hike. Using a top box moved the weight higher. Although I packed to keep the heavier things low on the bike, just the box alone moved several pounds up on the bike. Although I can see that hard panniers are also used by some experienced riders, I don't see many top boxes. Some people have a soft bag on their tail, but not a hard case. Matthew put his Rotopacks on his tail with some stuff strapped above it. I'll talk about the fuel later. Swapping the top box for a tail bag could have saved me another 10 pounds or more and kept the weight lower. Something that I should have known in advance is to bring less food. I've been camping for decades, and I have many moto camping adventures under my belt, so I know a bit about planning moto camping meals. On a backpacking trip, I pack everything for the whole trip with the idea of eating the last food on the last day. There might be a little extra in case of an extra night on the trail. On a moto camping trip, I usually only pack 1 or 2 days' meals because I know I can resupply any day. The smart thing for the Idaho BDR would have been to plan to resupply in Hamilton, Montana. That would have meant, for us, starting at Glenn's Ferry, 4 nights on the trail. Since we were sharing food, it meant 2 dinners and 2 breakfasts for 2. However, when I was shopping for the trip, I found I had a lot of options, so I bought too much. I had enough dinners for almost the whole trip, and more than enough breakfasts. When I hike, I measure each day's ration of oatmeal, so I know I'm not carrying any extra. On the Idaho BDR, I just popped the bag of oatmeal in my food supply, not being concerned about the weight. I could have done way better. Here's something that no one told me, seriously. Hand signals. There are hand signals that ATV operators and motorcyclists use to tell oncoming traffic how many are in their group and who the last rider is. A closed fist means there's no one else coming. The previous riders hold up the number of fingers corresponding to how many more riders there are. Even some car drivers use this signal. When I finally figured it out, I had already injured my left shoulder and I couldn't raise my left arm, so I signaled with my right hand. Here's something else that's obvious. You're 1 fall away from ending your trip. So speaking of an injured shoulder, accidents happen. Plenty of people ride the BDR solo, but I'm glad I did it with a friend. My first fall was the bad one, and though I probably could have got the bike back up on my own, having backup prevented me from making my injury worse. At first, we were just monitoring to see how much I was affected, but the weakness and restricted movement in my shoulder made the second fall more likely, and convinced us not to risk continuing, which would have included some more challenging terrain. I'm sure my beginner skill and knowledge contributed to my fall, not to mention the weight, but even more skilled riders can have accidents. In the official Idaho BDR film, a rider fell and needed to be airlifted out. As soon as I posted my video about my BDR bust, someone commented that they also had a trip-ending fall on the Idaho BDR. Of course, many commentators offered advice on my riding, gear, and motorcycle. As soon as you put something on social media, lots of people are willing to jump in with their opinions, both helpful and unhelpful. And my final lesson has to do with gas. The guy with the least range sets the gas anxiety. The Idaho BDR doesn't require you to have a great range. It looks like the longest section without gas is section 4, Yellow Pine to Elk City at 330 kilometers, but there is an easy exit to Riggins about halfway. Unfortunately, sometimes remote gas stations can be closed or out of gas, like we experienced at Lohman, so precautions are necessary. I carried 2 900 ml fuel bottles, but I wouldn't have ever needed them for myself because Matthew's KTM 990 only has about a 250 kilometer range. So for our whole trip, we were more concerned about his bike's range, starting on the way down when the only gas station in Unity, Oregon was out of gas, and we had to backtrack to Prairie City with him running on fumes. He was carrying a Rotopax but hadn't planned on filling it before we got to the BDR. For me, extra gas is just extra weight, and my bike is already heavier because it's got a big gas tank. So those 5 things will help me when I ride the BDR the next time, and I hope they're helpful to you if you're planning to ride a BDR. It's a great experience and one that every adventure rider wants to get under his or her belt. So good luck with that, and hope to see you on the trail.